Aber das reicht jetzt aus.
Für deine lange Musik. Ja.
Lieber jetzt den Forellenfinger vielleicht weg. Aber eigentlich den meisten.
Hello. We will start in around 3 to 5 minutes. We are just fixing the last presenter's cable. In the meantime, feel free to grab some drinks in the fridge, and outside there's coffee as well. Hello. We will start. Hello and good evening and welcome to Wikimedia for our joint event from ODINE, Finodex and Apps for Europe about open data businesses in Europe. I will keep it short. We have a quite long program, good program, starting off with Nicolas Zimmer from the Technology Foundation in Berlin, talking about open data in Berlin and economic value. Then we have 7 presentations from great startups doing already open data businesses. Then we have 3 presentations, quick ones, from European funding programs for open data businesses. And at the end, we have a special guest from the US, Laura, who will present quickly the open data impact map. So I will hand over right away for Nicolas Zimmer to start. And thanks for coming, and drinks in the back.
Welche war das?
Das ist
Die hier, ne? Okay, hello everybody. I'm Nicolas. Nice to meet you all here. And I was being told that I should boil down my presentation to roughly 15 minutes, and so I will try to keep my time frame. Technology Foundation Berlin, probably you're not very familiar with what we are doing here. We are an entity which is mandated to develop innovation strategies for the state of Berlin. We are a private non-profit foundation, although we are getting funding from Berlin State when we are working on different programs. And one of the main topics we're dealing with is open data. We have one challenge. We have challenges. Everybody has challenges in life, but we have 3 challenges we're dealing with. And the first one we're dealing with is data-driven innovation. And I'm already seeing that the guy who's taking the pictures here is one of my colleagues from the Technology Foundation, Ben Seibel. So let's go into my presentation. First of all, you may know this website. It's datenberlin.de, which is our open data portal here in Berlin. And we started it several years ago. It was one of the first in Germany. Basically, I think it's still one of the largest when it comes to the number of data sets we have. But one of the first learnings was that the data that we got into that platform was actually not the data people wanted. It was the data that people in the administration thought would be worth or unworth, however you may see it, to be funneled into that platform. And we had several discussions in the beginning, which were more or less between people who are data keepers and people who are data liberators. So the data keepers were the people working in the administration saying, well, that's our data, it belongs to us. However, on the other side, there were people from the open data movement who said, well, we want to liberate the data, give the data, set the data free. And I think that this clash between those 2 cultures is right now not so present anymore in the discussion, because everybody has understood that open data is something quite important. On the other hand, I'm quite sure that it's still very present in the heads of people who are working with data in the government. And as you probably know, the most popular format in which data is kept in the Berlin administration, and I assume that this is also the case in other administrations, is the Excel sheet. So people have to, in one way or the other, translate the data they have into a format which is consumable via our platform. And this is one of the main reasons, in my opinion, that it's still stalling when it comes to putting data or setting data free. We are right now on our way to have an e-government law in Berlin. You may know that we have in our federal system different layers of lawmaking, and there is a federal e-government law, but the Berlin e-government law will be a little bit more liberal when it comes to, or more, no, it's not liberal, it's at the end of the day, it's stronger when it comes to make sure that the government is providing data to the people. So we have been in the discussion before the e-government law was enacted or is in the process of being enacted. We have been discussing the question, what value does open data have? Because usually when you're talking to a politician about data, the first thing that they see is it's costly to provide data. And on the other hand, you can earn money when you sell data. Certain data has a value, I would say a mercantile value when it comes to providing, for example, geo-based data. So we thought it would be probably helping in the discussion to get an estimate of what the value of our Berlin data would be per annum. So you see this formula here, this equation here, and some of you may know it. It's based on the work of Rufus Pollock, which is, I think, quite well known in the open knowledge sphere. So I don't want to elaborate too much on that because actually I'm not one of those guys who are calculating with those kinds of formulas, but it's quite good understandable that we have certain costs, which are the costs of raising data and maintaining data. We have cost multipliers when it comes to providing the data. Let's say it's the open data portal in a nutshell. Then we have a benefit multiplier, which is what you can actually, when you're working as an economic entity with that data, can earn from it. It's your revenue. And then we have a indirect benefit multiplier. And this is where the magic happens, because the indirect benefit multiplier is something which describes how, for example, quality of life improves when you provide open data to the public. Participation, for example, political participation is something that is quite hard to, well, value to the exact dollar and dime or euro and cent. But it has a value, of course, because it improves how people work with each other. And at the end of the day, this has also an economic benefit. A stable and interesting and thriving city is something which is also attracting, at the end of the day, people who are investing money. So we put it in here. We have a demand elasticity, which is something that is always used when you're talking to people from the economic side, because this is where another part of the magic happens. So you can put it up or put it down, but we ended at 32 million euros per year. So the next question we have, show me the money. Because where are those 32 million euros? This is from Jerry Maguire. That's the reason why Cuba Gooding Jr. is smiling here with a $20 note in his hands. And in German, I think it's even funnier to say, "Führ mich zum Schotter." That's what they always say in that movie. And the question is actually, where are those 32 million euros? Because when you're looking into business models that could be built on open data, and this is something that we are talking about today, it's not so obvious that you are able to build a really scaling business model on all open data which is provided. I usually say, because I'm not only CEO of a technology foundation, but I'm a founder and CEO of a startup in Berlin myself. So my question was, if somebody would provide me with the complete open data of Berlin and give me €500,000 seed funding, what would I build? What would I build which is scalable and what has exit potential, so that a venture capitalist would show up and say, "Great, Nicolas, I'm buying it for," I think the last exit we had here in Berlin is Sechs Wunderkinder, which estimates to 180, 190 million euros. So would there somebody be who would be willing to invest some million euros into such a startup? I'm actually quite unsure that this will happen. So I think it's quite important to understand that the real value, the real economic value, but the real value of open data is not only in building business model and in building a business. Although we will see startups today, I've seen that my friends from Ali are the first ones who are kicking it off. They have been Allrider before and they have been Viomedo before, so they are changing probably their name more frequently than they have funding rounds. But at the end of the day, they're quite prototypic example of what today is being built with open data. It's something which is built on traffic, on transportation, on logistics. Those are applications which work also as a business. What I think is interesting is how can we use open data to improve overall quality of life? So this is one of the cautionary tales. When you are living in Berlin, you probably know Flughafen Tempelhof Airport. And we had a referendum here in Berlin, which has been dealing with the question whether the Flughafen Tempelhof should be redeveloped or not in certain parts of the airport. And at the end of the day, those who have been opposing the redevelopment of Flughafen Tempelhof won the referendum, not the government, but people who have been against it. Why was this the case? Because people have been able to make an informed decision. They had access to data. They had access to planning scenarios. And this is one of the samples which has been also been, I think that they got the Grimme Prize. It's from the Morgenpost, which built an interactive map where you have been able to understand how different scenarios work with the airport Tempelhof. So we thought, okay, people are into data which has something to do with the city. So we have been starting, and you can see here URL Hacking Berlin, some kind of contest when it comes to using a first big chunk of open data that has been released over the last couple of days, actually. This is our Berlin 3D city model. And this city model can, of course, be used to build something in the transportation area. That's probably quite good understandable. But what we are interested to see is what are people building else on that? How can you use this in a context which is not the obvious? So we are looking forward to what people are building out of it. If somebody's interested, actually what we are doing here, I already mentioned my colleague Ben here. He's the one who is in charge of the project at Technology Foundation. We have mentoring programs which help people who might be not too familiar with the tools that can be used in the context of 3D data. And we are looking forward to the best projects to be presented at the Tech Open Air Festival at the beginning of July. So now we have Minecraft. So I think that you might ask yourself why he's now showing Minecraft. Because I think one of the other questions we have to answer when it comes to the question of how can we use open data to make it really accessible and usable, but because having a lot of data is something that makes developers probably happy and data scientists. But how does it people really help when it comes to improving their everyday lives? So we need something which transforms data into their reality. And when we are thinking about how can we use, for example, open data to improve districts of Berlin, which might be not the wealthiest, like Köln, for example, my question is, how can I enable people to use open data in order to do something useful with it? So Minecraft might be one of the examples where 3D data from our 3D data city model might be used to build a planning tool, for example. You can also game with that, but I think it's something which is quite clearly showing that the biggest challenge when it comes to using open data is not, in my opinion, is not the question where to get the data, but the question how to make sense out of data and provide people with sense out of data. Because when they feel that this is something out of added value, which is providing added value to them, then they will use it in their everyday life, and they will probably also buy the application you are developing. The last point I want to make here is that in every presentation, I have Chris Anderson in different contexts. He was he was the chief editor of Wired for some years, and he's saying talent is not universal, but it is widely spread. And this is something which is really interesting. That I think that it is important that we are having a culture where open data is used in a startup thinking way. Because at the moment, I think people have something in mind they want to achieve with open data. What I want to achieve is that people are going to play with open data, that people are just trying things, that people might also fail with it. Because what I see is that there's still some kind of zealotism when it comes to using open data. What I want to see is that everybody takes a chance on using this as a foundation of developing something cool or uncool. Maybe it's not happening, maybe it's happening, but when we enable enough people with good tools and with a good ecosystem to use open data, then I'm quite sure that we will see really interesting applications coming out of the wild and having something which might be also some kind of data revolution based on open data. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any comments, criticisms, or ideas, this is my Twitter handle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And the next we have is Erika from Eliapp. As the joke was before, the startup formerly known as, we've already forgot the name. Allwriter. So the presentation will be about how to get from one location to the other one? Something like that? Yeah. Okay. And how many people are in Berlin right now at your company?
Working in the company?
No, how many people?
How many people?
Employees?
Oh, in the company,
Yeah.
32.
32. So it's quite a substantial number for a startup.
Thank you.
That's it.
Hi, good evening. My name is Erika. I'm being presenting Ali for you guys. So Ali is an urban transport application. So we pretty much like, you have a city, you need to go from A to B every single day, and we can present you the easiest, fastest, and sometimes even cheapest way to go from A to B. So most of these apps that you can see, because there are a lot of them, they show you public transport only, or car or buses only, or metro only, or something like this. We do a slightly different approach. So we show you pretty much everything that is public. So we show you the public transport, we show you car sharing, bike sharing, we show you taxi. In the countries that it's allowed, we show you also Uber and some even other taxi apps that we have on this. So we are trying to build the first global urban transport cloud, which means that we are creating a cloud for a platform that will have all the transportation data in the world. To feed this cloud, we have several ways of doing it, and then we can use it to also do a lot of different things. So we do urban transportation companies APIs, we have crowdsourcing, and we have raw data that we can get from different sources as well. And then we use this to not just to feed our app, but also to do custom application, software development kits, API services, and other different possibilities. So you might ask now, what kind of open data do we use? So it's quite important that we have the public authorities open data. So these are two cases that we have. We have the BVG, this is the public authority for Berlin, and we have Transport for Ireland. We also have Transport for London. So these public authorities, they put their data out there. So they give us access to the data, not just to us, but to everyone that's interested in it. And thanks to this, it's possible for us to create our app, to release our app in one city, so people can know how to use the public transports from one place to the other. Not just the public authorities, we are also using for routing the OpenStreetMap and the OpenTrip Planner. So we use routing mostly for walking directions and for bicycle directions. And we also contribute for the OpenStreetMap community. So this is very workable. And the kind of open data that we need in order to scale faster and to build a better product is pretty much all the urban transport data that exists in the world. Not just public transport, but also informal transport, means of transport, taxis, bike sharing, car sharing, every kind of transportation that data that exists, it would be very, very important for us. A little bit more about Ellie. So we are a team of 32 people coming from 20 countries. We have an office here in Berlin, and we just opened another one in Porto Alegre in Brazil to help our expansion to Latin America. And if you have anything you would like to ask, you have my contact. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the next one would be up Lucas from Bikecity Guide. Sorry. One remark regarding the 3D city model from Berlin. They currently have a hackathon running, so I think some of the guys are right now at rooftop lounge somewhere programming. They might come by later around 8 something was the rumor. For those who are interested in the model, check it out. It's really good stuff, and you can join the sprint. I think it goes on for another weeks. Benjamin, maybe in the meantime, since we have a setup for the presentation, that's Benjamin Seibel from the TSB, and he is handling the project, so maybe.
Yeah, I just said, just talk to me if you're interested. I'm organizing the project, and I can give you all information you'll need.
Thank you.
So,
ready?
Yeah, we also did a name change. We're now Bike Citizens. Because we thought Bike City Guide is not enough, we want to be Bike Citizen. So what do? We would try to make an impact on cycling in cities. How do we do that? Or how do we want to do that? We want to raise the number of cyclists in every city. Those cyclists gather data. This data will be converted into awareness by visualizations and so on. And this can raise the number of cyclists again, and this circle should continue. So what did you do to do that? We, in 2011, started developing our app, Bike City Guide, which is now Bike Citizens, which is free to download and where you have more than 100 cities now available, and it is based on OpenStreetMap. In 2013, we also launched our online route planner. More on that later. Then our app also has a tracking function, and with this tracking function, we can create heat maps later on where you can exactly see where the people are moving in the city. We give this data back to the cities so they can see what should be improved in terms of infrastructure in their cities. And then it's also about the awareness that cycling is really an option in the city. So we started a magazine this year and also did some visualizations like the 5 minutes by bike. I will show it to you. So 5 minutes by bike is a very simple visualization showing that with a bike you can get around the city in 10-15 minutes in most cities, and most people are not aware of that because they're using the car, they're stuck in traffic. But if you get on a bike, you're much faster, and if you start from the city center, it's very, very easy to go almost outside the city in 15 to 20 minutes. So, and what does our algorithm do? It calculates the best route based on the type of the street, the width of the street, the intersections. Is it a traffic light intersection or is it a normal intersection? And yeah, by that we provide turn-by-turn navigation based on GPS. And with this data, which is an OpenStreetMap, we can provide fast routing, a balanced routing, and a very safe routing. So if you're on a cycle path, it's much safer than on a 2-lane street, for example. So for us, it's very important that the OpenStreetMap data is as exact as possible, because we have about 40 to 50 different parameters that we can adjust. And if there is more information, our routing gets even better. So how does it improve safety? Yeah, it's cycle paths, altitude difference. So the less altitude there is, the better it is, and street quality. If you have muddy roads, if you have the lanes of the rails of a tram line, and so on. So, but there's something more, because if you're riding in a city, there's one obstacle that everybody sees. It's traffic lights. You have to stop at the traffic lights, and I saw that when coming here. I had to stop about 15 to 20 times, and that was quite annoying. So we had a research project which was finished this year, where we developed a prototype which is called the Bike Wave Buddy, which is just a prototype picture, so no design applied yet, which shows you how fast you have to go to reach the next traffic light with green. And the cool thing is it is working offline. So all the data that we are gathering is used to provide this information. And the prototype run was done in Vienna this spring, and it was working. So try to get it on the market until next year. So how do we decide which road is good and which isn't? It's we started as bike messengers, and by that we got the knowledge from the road, because we were cycling every day, and we tried to transform this knowledge into our app, and it worked quite good. And yeah, what else do? We're doing research projects. The currently running one is Nice Rides, where we try to gather user feedback, like this is a dangerous crossing, this route could be much faster, get that back on, map that back to OpenStreetMap, and maybe that is kind of tough because of standardization and so on, but to get that data back to OpenStreetMap. Another one is Chic, where it started to crowdsource information, because the surface information is really a big problem in most cities. Like here in Berlin, it's the cobblestones. And so we're trying to develop an algorithm that detects the surface of the street by the acceleration sensor in the smartphone. Yeah, and there was also another research project that we just started this week. And yeah, it was quite a success. Yeah, and can we sell that? Yeah, we can. We have two major customers at the moment. Some more are pending. It's the city of Vienna and the city of Bremen in Germany, where we did exactly that. We provided them branding. We gave them their apps. We gave them a marketing concept, and it's all based on the data that we are using. We're just providing the service. So in short, it's our own routing algorithm. It's the voice prompts. We offer different languages. It's available all on iOS and Android. And yeah. Okay. And we also won several prizes and awards already. So that's it. And if you want to talk to us, I'm here and my colleagues are also here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Philip from ENIAN. While we're plugging in the computer, it's about energy analysis. I think it's cloud-based. Cloud-based. So we should be ready to go in a few seconds. Boom, boom. Now, here we go. It's your stage.
Okay, hello everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm an academic, so I apologize in advance. I have one foot in the University of Edinburgh School of Geosciences, and I lecture in innovation. So if I sound like I'm lecturing, just cut me off, cut the mic. I also have another foot in the entrepreneurial world, and our company is called ENIAN. So ENIAN stands for Energy Impact Analytics. I'm going to talk a little bit about the problems with energy data in general, and then a little bit about what we do. So we're in the process of developing a cloud-based platform that basically streamlines the collection, calculation, and visualization of energy data across all technology types for supply-side energy clients. Now, the reason why we focused on supply side, many people in here are focused on demand side, which is fantastic. There's so much data on demand side. Supply side is a whole other kettle of fish or can of worms, depending on where you're from. And I'll tell you in a minute about why we decided to focus on that. So we're lightweight, we're bespoke. We're basically trying to create, a way that big energy companies can manage their data faster to make smarter decisions. A third of global carbon emissions come from supply side energy production. It's the elephant in the room. There's a political dimension to this, which if anyone wants to talk about energy politics over a pint, it's my favorite topic. But we're not going to talk about that now. So we're a team of three. We've got myself. I've had a few startups before. Our colleague Chris Nader, he does our software stacks development. You might know him. He was based in Berlin before. Now he's in Edinburgh with us. He says hello. And then Romik, who's based in Delhi. He's an actuary. If you don't know what that is, then he can tell you, because I don't really know what it is either. It's someone that does very, very complex risk modeling and analytics for government bodies in the UK. So these are our partners. We're here with the Open Data Institute. There he is in the back. There's your man, Ulrich, if you want to talk to him about Open Data Institute. He's right there. And we have some other partners in Scotland. Tell you more about that some other time. We're working with GIB data. So the UK Green Investment Bank is a very interesting use case. They don't like to share their data. And there's different reasons why, like the Green Investment Bank, even though they're a public sector organization, don't want to share their data. We can talk about that later. I didn't realize I'd be preaching to the converted here, but everyone knows there's three types of data, right? There's not just open data, there's also shared and closed data. We're working with all three types. So energy data is notoriously tedious. Excuse my language, it's tedious as hell. We need as much help as we can possibly get because there is so much disaggregation and unstructured practice in the energy sector. And if we're going to build a European-wide single market where there's a streamlined sort of standard of practice across all different energy types, systems, and countries, we're going to need as much help as we can get trying to create uniform standards using RDF frameworks and trying to visualize this data and get everyone on the same page, like literally on the same page. So what is tedious energy data? Why is it tedious? Well, it's disaggregated, often in different formats, different styles, different types of practice. PDFs are notorious. Excel sheets, as my friend said earlier, also notorious. And people don't label things the same way. They don't use the same languages. They don't use the same currencies. This is a problem. But if we're going to solve the energy problem, and there is a big, big energy problem that we need to solve, the one way that we think that Europe can do this, and what the European Commission is trying to do, is they're trying to build a transnational supergrid, right? It sounds like science fiction, but it's not science fiction. This is actually going to happen if we can get this right, and supposedly that's what it's going to look like. So our partners at TU Delft, they've built this platform called Enipedia. If you're not familiar with Enipedia, please have a look. The web link's just here. It's an absolutely brilliant project. They're basically trying to create an open source platform for standardizing unstructured energy data sets. Anyone can go onto this, anyone can contribute. So please, if you're interested in this, if you're an electricity data geek like I am, we really need your help. This is very tedious stuff. So I'll tell you why it's tedious very quickly. At the moment, so this is focusing on Greece. I don't know if you can tell, but so this is Greece. There's about 19 solar facilities in Greece, according to the map. And next down, we have hydro projects. There's about 20 of those. And then we have question mark, 340 question marks. We don't know what the question marks represent. We don't know the scale of the technology. This is a problem. So I'm going to end by saying that, well, I won't end just yet, but requirements for open data. Obviously, we need data that is accessible, not just accessible, but available in a usable format, machine readable and human usable, also very different at times. And data needs to be linked to other data to form the semantic web. We're trying to do this on our own time, on our own budget at ENIAN. And we've built this backend system where we're basically taking unstructured data and we're structuring it. And this is just one page of what the prototype looks like. This is just for the environmental input category. So basically you can take different metrics and compare them across categories or within a category to get your impact. We're also comparing this with risk, and we're comparing it also with environmental and social return on investment. If anyone wants to help with this, we could really use your help. It's very tedious stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. And we have next one up is Henning from Route 360. And we have another laptop. We will see how that works. Sorry for the guys in the live stream. It's even worse there. So it's again something how to get from A to B, and it's about visualization. And we're ready to. In the meantime, if those are really hungry, I think they can already get a snack. That's input.
That wasn't supposed to look like that.
What?
Bitte? Volle HD. Aber es ging ja gerade. Es ging ja gerade eben.
1 second.
Hey.
Here we go. It's your stage.
I'd like to see what you see. How can I? Hey, yeah, that's my daughter, by the way, but now I think we can use online presentation. Well, hey, my name's Henning of Motion Intelligence, and it's someone again about how to get from A to B. Although we don't really focus on how to get from A to B, but how to get. I have to speak like that, okay. So we don't really focus just on how to get from A to B, but we focus on how to get somewhere you don't really know where you're heading yet. So it could be, for example, like a flat nearby your workspace, or a getaway that is easy to reach by public transit, meeting places, like whenever you want to go somewhere, but you don't really know where. So we came up with an API, which is maybe a bit boring to explain, but it's based on OpenStreetMap and GTFS basically, and we really focus on the visualization of where can you get in a given time. It's pretty simple. You can just go to our website, get your free API key, download the library, add the functionality to your own maps, and then use it to filter your own content. Apart from explaining that way, I'd just like to show it live, and then people usually see pretty quickly what's actually meant to happen. So, for example, this is we're working a lot with Switzerland, by the way, because Switzerland has a lot of open data available. In Germany, this is a bit tricky sometimes, especially when it comes to transport data. So one might know. For example, we have a starting point in Zurich, and we can just see where we can get in 20 minutes, in this case by public transportation. We can then choose a different travel time and see where we can get like in 60 minutes. And what we're calculating is really precise, I'd say. So we're just not just looking where's the individual transit stop, but we really calculate each and every road to its end, and then send the data to the client. Sorry. Also, you can use other visualization modes. For example, you see the color-coded map in that case here, or you could, let's say, add different places. And for example, now you see what you can reach from Basel and from Zurich. And for example, if we go ahead and just say we want to use a car from both sides, and maybe even add another city like Bern, then you can see all those spots, or you can even run it for intersections. For example, now you see where you can reach from all those places together. This, for example, is like the time you need to get to all of these places on average. This just shows a basic principle, and we implemented that for a variety of customers. Like one derivation is that one here, where you could see, for example, where you can get with an e-bike, depending on your battery's capacity. So, for example, you see here you have 200 watt hours. How long does it take you without you having to push your bike back to where you come from? So this then again can be merged, for example, with points of interest that you see, like which museums can you reach with your e-bike. There's a few other functionalities. I don't want to show them all yet. Probably it's a bit boring. This, for example, now shows you all the rental places and does like that rental bike routing included. One interesting feature I'd still like to show is that one here we have for Berlin. I thought it's interesting from an open data perspective. You have basically all the transportation data, and we merged that with open demographics data. So now you can pick a point on the map and choose a few things from the demographic input. For example, age categories and the gender of the people, and choose for example, public transportation, and then it calculates for you on the fly, like how many people you can reach within 30 minutes of male gender between 18 and 25. And this is actually calculated on the fly, which we're a bit happy that this works. So yeah, this is basically what we do. The whole thing is accessible via an API, which everyone can just check out. And there's some nice tutorials how it works, and really a variety of functionalities you can use. For example, the intersection functionalities of various polygons I just mentioned, or for example, how you filter like points of interest with those generated isochrones. Yeah, well, basically this is it. I was asked to say a little bit about open data still. So we're using a lot of OpenStreetMap data, obviously. GTFS a lot, which is our biggest problem, because GTFS data is not widely available in Europe, at least. So in some countries, like in Switzerland, it's perfectly fine. In Germany, it looks a bit like a map of the 17th century. So the one people do, the others don't, and so it doesn't really help you that much. We use a lot of elevation data, of course, and we like using statistical data, like those demographic data. It doesn't really matter so much what it is, but it would be nice to just have coordinates, and then I'm sure we can make some use of it. Yeah, and yeah, as I just said, we're just looking for everything with a spatial context, and I'm pretty sure we can make nice things out of it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You showed a chart with how many people you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
You showed a chart where you could. You showed that how many people you can reach in a particular amount of time.
Yeah.
How are you getting the data for the people around there?
It's on opendata.berlin, I think.
Okay, so you can get the data for the number of people living in that area.
We know actually for every building in Berlin, or we have an estimation how many people of what age live in that specific building. So in the background of that is a database of 250,000 objects, and those 250,000 objects have like a value, like let's say 0.1 person between 18 and 25 living in that building. We're agglomerating that data and send it to the client.
Okay, thank you very much.
I want to, when you ask that, the problem here is we have that data for Berlin, but we do not have it for Brandenburg. So one weak point of the whole thing is really stopping at the border of Berlin. Brandenburg published similar data, but for example, they use different age classes. So I think you need to spend a lot of work actually to merge it into each other.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thanks. Should I just pull the plug again, or it's making too much noise?
Yeah, we have the problem with the volume control is
Okay.
don't know how fast that reacts. So next up we have Marius from Mnemosyne. It's a young Berlin project working especially in the area of art, and I think you're ready to go, so hand it over to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Marius from Mnemosyne. By the way, we don't want to change our name. To make it easier to remember, Mnemosyne is a Greek goddess of memory. And for us, it's a framework to improve the impact of complex data. And right now it's a browser app and installation prototype. Cultural institutions have the responsibility of storing, preserving, and making cultural heritage accessible. So we ask ourselves how to design and access to such a complex system. So we come along with Mnemosyne, and it's especially interesting for museums because it gives them the possibility to offer the visitors an easy access to their digitized data. So Mnemosyne is some kind of an alternative search engine, but without borrowing long lists and difficult search masks, so you don't need to be an expert to fall deep into the archive data, but without a feeling of getting lost. And how it works, you start with a word, you can type it in, or it could be a word from a tag cloud or a QR code or another collage. And with this word, you will start the algorithm. And our algorithm uses the metadata to find relations between the archived data. And this will create the collage. And the collage is some kind of a treasure map, really easy, not really complex, but behind every entry, there's additional information. And you can transform the algorithm. This because we want the user to set a high degree. That means the algorithm will run several times. And this is how you will leave the already know and find something new. And this is a great moment of serendipity. So you get a new collage. And furthermore, to keep the transparency, we have the meta view, which enables the user to retrace the algorithm. And of course, another really important moment is the possibility of sharing those collages. So for us, Mnemosyne is a great research or creative tool to build some kind of a bigger picture. You can curate your own exhibitions around your favorite objects. And museums have the possibility to connect their current exhibitions with additional archive data, what's already there. So it's a tool to discover treasuries of our cultural heritage, to share and discuss it, and by that participate in our cultural life. The app is built to cooperate with any digital archive and connect them with existing open data sources. And now we are looking for cultural institutions to cooperate with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next presentation is from Viomedo, Alexander. And we're now moving to the medical area. If I'm correct.
Das, no?
And it's the Joy of Life demonstrations.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Hey guys, I'm Alex from Viomedo. Probably the only one doing anything in the healthcare sector. And just like the person before me in the energy sector, I think the healthcare sector is as tough to crack, and we also need all the help we can get to set the data free that is in there. With Viomedo, we're addressing a really, really big problem. Just imagine you've been diagnosed with a very severe disease. If you're like most people, you would go online to search for therapeutic options to talk with your doctor, your family. But what you would almost find impossible to find is therapeutic options that are currently being developed. And that is a really, really important point, because you, as the informed patient, want to take a decision using all information available, and not only the standard of care that your doctor knows about, but also things that are currently being developed that your doctor probably does not know about, and that give you additional options that might be even better than what is available right now. Right now, we face this problem that trials and clinical trials and patients and the doctors are completely disconnected while searching for each other. On the one hand, we have patients and doctors looking for new options and alternatives. And on the other hand, we have clinical trials looking for patients to participate and bring research forward. This is a great problem for patients and doctors, but also a great problem for the industry, of course, where it takes around 12 years and a couple of $1 billion to get new therapies to market. We want to solve this problem with an online platform, which is called Viomedo, which is live since February, which provides a very, very easy access for patients to a centralized source, a search engine for clinical trials where they can find and contact clinical trials to participate in. We aggregate data that is open from different sources and put it on our own search engine. We augment it with exclusive information from doctors, from patient support groups, and other people participating in our project, and make it really easy to access and to digest, really patient-centric. Therefore, we enable the following really simple flow in 4 steps. I think for all of us here, this is very, very clear how search engines work and how marketplaces work. And we're basically bringing the same easiness of use to the healthcare sector. Therefore, we provide a really good patient experience, because patients can basically find all the new innovative treatment methods on our platform. We currently have around 2,000 open trials available for Germany right now. And it obviously also solves thereby the problem of researchers and the industry, and connecting both sides. What really grinds my gears, though, is that a lot of really, really valuable data, which is financed by public money, is closed up, especially in the healthcare sector. And what we demand and what we really think is necessary to improve the healthcare system and save a lot of lives is to release that data and make it open and machine readable. I think I'm preaching to the choir, but especially it comes to trial information, to longitudinal anonym patient data, to which investigator sites are participating in which trial, and things like that. And it would help us and a lot of other startups a lot if this data would be actually freely available. Thanks. That was it from my side. I'm usually presenting at other conferences, so my Twitter handle is Mr. Push. I haven't put it on here, but I'll be here. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. For all the Twitter handles and URLs on the hashtag ODINE, you can follow most information. There's also then the links for when there's live presentations where you can check it out then later. And we have up Robin from ViziCities. I think where's here it comes. You're using Yon? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. We start. Here we go.
Hi, so my name's Robin. I'm the founder and developer and general everything behind ViziCities. So in the next few minutes, I just want to give you a bit of an overview of what ViziCities is, what you can do with it, and kind of the whole purpose of it as a company. So just taking a quick step back, and this is something that we're all pretty aware of, but cities require things on vast scales. I mean, just food distribution systems, reliable energy networks, transportation, healthcare, and civil protection. All of these things exist in every city and have to exist on huge scales. And all of these parts work independently of each other. So there's potential for if one of them fails, it could bring down an entire part of a network. So in short, cities are chaotic, they're complex, and they're awe-inspiring. They shouldn't work, but they do. You can't fully control them, which makes it even more important to be able to understand them. So this not only so we can make them work more efficiently, but also so we can better comprehend that complexity as citizens of those cities. So we already know there's a huge amount of data existing that's locked away about these cities and exists in places like open data portals, so this is data.gov.uk, as well as a large number of sort of open and private data repositories. So what if you could create a tool that allowed people to see a real world city and overlay this kind of data on top of that to unlock it and get a better understanding about how that city works and their place within that city? So this tool already exists. It's called SimCity, the game. And in SimCity, you're basically a mayor and you create your own fictional city from scratch. And the idea is that it gives you this kind of data view, which allows you to get an understanding of how your city's working and how you can go in there and more importantly, see what's not working, make a change, and watch that change over time and see if you've made an improvement to things like traffic or pollution. So it's just really a shame that SimCity only exists for fictional cities. So the original aim with ViziCities was to see if we could do this for real world cities, to see what we could do with the existing data that exists about cities and find that kind of SimCity-like balance between beautiful data visualization and sort of intelligent and intuitive decision-making and sort of surfacing of information about cities. So part of this solution is the 3D platform that I created. It takes open data, for example, OpenStreetMap data, and turns it into something like this. So this is an example, we can visualize anywhere in the world, but this is a horrible example because it's all white. Imagine that's Manhattan with beautiful 3D buildings. It looks a lot better on my screen. But the idea is that we take OpenStreetMap data and we take those footprint outlines and we basically extrude those based on metadata about the heights of those, but also intelligently work out heights based on building type, area size, if that kind of information doesn't exist yet. But we can do more. So What we've also done is we were the first in the world to publicly visualize invisible data about London, like the London Underground network in 3D. So we not only visualized this network in 3D, but we visualized live train data based on open data API from well, a public data API from TfL, the Transport for London. So that gives you an idea of where the trains are right now. We also looked at visualizing the London bus network in the same way. Now, what's most interesting about this is we used OpenStreetMap to do routing along real roads. So you're seeing the bus network in real time along the actual roads rather than a straight line between bus stops, which is how most people do it. Interestingly, that's kind of broken. That should be moving. What we've also done is visualized things like air traffic. So visualizing air traffic in 3D to see how that gives you a better understanding about how stacking of airplanes or airplane movement over time affects decision making. Using it for things like flood analysis, using open height and terrain data and water data to see how that can help people work out what's happening in the local area. And for example, how high the water level would go up the side of buildings rather than just knowing that their area is going to be flooded. Being able to know that it's going to go 5 meters up the side of their building gives them a better understanding about what's going on. And then we've also looked at more traditional data visualization. So applying this 3D building data with heat maps and other data sets like that to be able to bring in things like census data or pollution data or any other kind of data source, apply that on the 3D context and get a much better understanding about how this data combines and tells a story about the city as a whole. So the platform itself, the 3D platform, is open source. It's built by myself predominantly and a community of people that are helping. The core technology is open and will stay open, and you can extend that technology if you want to. It's important to be clear that ViziCities is browser-based. It's built using JavaScript in the client side. So it requires no plugins. It works out of the box on pretty much any modern computer, even on mobile phones, which makes a massive change to existing proprietary tooling that requires extensive licensing in a Windows machine, basically. So ViziCities in use. Over the years, the 2 years that it's existed, it's gained significant traction, which has been incredibly interesting from my point of view. We've got 8,000 people signed up, including governments, public sector organizations, and private and public organizations too. This is quite interesting, actually, because it was mentioned earlier. But the Berliner Morgenpost used ViziCities most recently in a interactive visualization piece on the Tempelhof airfield development. So they produced this 3D environment where you could sort of zoom around and see the different parts as like a kind of a tour of the environment to get an understanding about the area. And that was very, very popular and was one of the first uses of ViziCities publicly. Another company have produced a virtual Helsinki, the entirety of Helsinki, basically, with live transport data and points of interest where you can fly around and see that. America's public broadcasting service recently used ViziCities to explore virtual reality and storytelling using 3D. So applying urban data from Manhattan and allowing you to kind of fly in with virtual reality, Oculus Rift, and experience it that way. And I suppose I'll end on one of the more interesting uses, which applies quite a lot actually with this hack event that's happening in Berlin. I'm working with a company called Mnemosyne to produce an open building repository, basically. And it's using data like CityGML, which is the data set that the Berlin 3D models produced in. And I've built a lot of tooling around that to be able to consume that data with open source tooling and to convert that data into individual building models that you can download in many different formats. You can search for, you can sort of visualize and see and consume. So we're doing that for Berlin, obviously, and many other cities doing CityGML data. So I'm happy to talk about that later as well, if that's interesting. So as for open data wishes, well, what data is the hardest problem that I've found with ViziCities? It's getting access to that data, and it's also having data in the quality and the consistency that allows you to work with it, because just releasing data is no use. That data needs to be readable, it needs to be useful, and it needs to be updated as well. You can't just release it and leave it. And that's what we found has been the biggest problem, is finding data that meets those rules, and people like the ODI are helping in that regard. So hopefully things will get better. So you can find out more on the website, ViziCities.com. I'm at Rob Hawks on Twitter, or you can contact me with the email there. As I said, I'll be around. So thank you very much, and I'll speak to you later.
Thank you, Robin, so much for the presentation. We have the next coming up 3 presentations from European projects funding open data. In the meantime, while we will set up the screen for the next presentation, here's another startup doing open data business, and he has the 30 seconds while we change the room to make his presentation. If the other startups want to do 30 seconds pitches, please let me know.
Hi, very nice to be here and have the chance to talk to you. I'm Christoph Richter from Zoom Square. We're from Vienna, and we built a real estate search engine, because currently real estate searching really sucks. It's about clicking hours and hours in the internet and hoping that behind the next click there's your dream home, but most of the time it's not there. And we thought about, wouldn't it be great if I just talk like to my best friend how I really would like to live? It should not be more than 30 minutes to work. There should be a supermarket nearby, and my kids should have a safe way to school. And then this best friend goes out and matches all the available properties on the internet with my personal needs and sends the best one directly to my mobile phone. That's exactly what we built Zoom Square for. We index, like Google, all available properties on the internet, identify where they are with the surroundings, what are the environment, and then matches it with the personal needs of our users and directly send them to their mobile phone. We have a mobile app, a website. The mobile app works pretty much like Tinder, so it's very funny to use. And we also use quite much of our open data, like most of the stuff is based on OpenStreetMap. And we just released 2 weeks ago our first own data set, which means the house prices and the flat prices in Austria for all of the geodata that we have. So if you're interested in real estate or are interested in how we do it and what you could do with the data, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards. Great.
Thank you. As next we have Ulrich from the before mentioned ODI, Open Data Institute from London. They're running an incubator program as well, helping startups in the open data area get shit done. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay, fine. I think I'll have this one. Thank you very much. My name is Ulrich. I'm from the startup program lead at the Open Data Institute, and I'm here to present the Open Data Incubator for Europe. The last time I was in Berlin, I just remember it was on the 13th July 2014, which was last year. The reason I remember is because it was the final of the Football World Cup, and I'm from Italy, so I've never seen German people that excited, but I have adjusted my expectations for today. I can summarize my talk in one sentence, which is apply now for the Open Data Incubator, because we offer up to €100,000 in equity-free funding, which I think is quite good. There's a little bit more to it, which means we also do the usual stuff that an incubator does, mentoring and peer networking, expose in media, introduction to investors, and so forth. What is the catch? You have to be a European SME according to EU regulation, and you have to work with open data ideally at the core. And thirdly, we want you to work on things that matter. So that could be something that has economic impact or environmental impact or social impact. So what is open data? I'm going to skip this because I think you know what it is. Why do we care? So you may have seen billions and trillions swirling around as sort of evidence. I have slightly recalculated them as % of GDP, so you can get a sense how much people associate the economic value and benefits of open data. We have 7 project partners. So there is the Fraunhofer Institute, there's the Open Knowledge Foundation in Germany, there is The Guardian as our media partner, we have the University of Southampton as the project lead, Telefonica and Weira, and lastly, the Open Data Institute. As I said, several things we provide as an incubator when we accelerate startups. I can go into details, but what I really want you to give you time to ask a few questions. So you can find lots of the answers when if you look through the handbook for applicants and so forth, but maybe there are questions that are burning at this point. I think the one thing I'm going to say is that you can apply right now, so the applications are open, and we have a rolling application system, so the last date is the 31st August 2016. So there are 2 monthly sort of cohorts from now until August next year. So if there are any questions, I'm very happy to answer. Yes, please. That was quick. Yes, so it is the European Commission or the European Union has a document that details in many, many aspects what is an SME. So if you have a legal status or legal entity in the EU, it's very likely that you qualify. Yes, please.
So yeah, what's the outcome of the project? How do you validate that? I think I read 6 months, the project for 6 months or something like that. And is your project made available openly? How do you work on that?
I think there are two sides. One is how do we validate the project for each startup or for each SME, I presume? Or do you mean how do we validate the success and outcome of the overall ODINE project?
Well, sorry, actually, my question was a bit more around, I think I saw something about 6 months.
Yeah, so 6 months is the incubation period, essentially.
And then after that, the results of the project. Is that something, like, I guess, how do you treat that? Like, so
Yes, sure.
Available to the government in some way?
There's no one takes equity, and the IP stays with you as the founder, as the SME. What will happen is you apply, then you get pre-selected, then you go for an interview, then you get selected. Then there's a negotiation phase, which says there will be 3 milestones. You have to achieve this in milestone 1, 2, and 3. And if you do, you get the full funding. We would encourage you very much to make data and code or stuff like that available with an open license, but it is not a necessary requirement.
Just to be sure, this is not only for SMEs, it's also for startups or other organizations that really have business idea. So you don't have to be an organization that has already 20 employees.
It's true. It's also for yes. 3.2 gigabyte. Now I don't know. I mean, it really depends on it really depends on your business case. But it should not feel as a bolt-on. I think that is quite important. If your application comes across, we have this project, and then you thought, oh, maybe we put in a little bit of open data, that is maybe not the right approach. So there should be a core element either around using and reusing open data and or publishing it as open data.
Open data, public data, but not quite open data, closed data, and this whole
Yes.
way of doing something where maybe you have open data and you want to show the value of it.
Yeah.
But actually, in the sector that you're working, this isn't the standard yet.
Sure.
So you're making a play by using, say, UK data because that's often quite open, whereas in Italy or Spain, the data isn't even available, and you wouldn't even know where to look for it. But you're sort of making a play that if
So maybe it helps if I tell you what not open data is. What is not open data is social media, like Twitter or Facebook, because they have difficult terms and conditions, and the license is not really clear or open. What else? We have someone asked if the Gutenberg project is open data, which is around ebooks and so, and we said yes, if you follow the guidelines that Open Knowledge puts out on how to reuse it. Do you have a specific example?
I have a specific example in the education sector, and some of the reports that you mentioned, like the McKinsey report,
Yes.
education actually is the biggest challenge,
Sure.
but also the biggest opportunity. Now, if you go around education data, you find out that because of the open data policy in the UK, say in the higher education sector, things are starting to look pretty good. You go to other countries, so. Many countries forget about it, right? So there's a way in which if you were doing something in that area, you'd have to focus on the UK data, which are the open data, because that's good. And part of what you're doing is to show that there's so much value in it that there's a point for others to do the same, i.e. follow the UK lead or...
Yes. So I think a minimum requirement, also to answer your question a bit less ironic, is to have one data set that qualifies as open data. How much time do we have? Oh, there's one more question. Absolutely. Well, depends how you define open license. So I think non-commercial is very difficult, but all the other licenses are more or less okay. Like Creative Commons I'm referring to.
Do I need a business plan?
Yes. So what happens is that you have to hand in a project and budget plan that explains why you need the money you're requesting. So you have to say, I'm going to need 40,000 euros for salaries and 10,000 for a space and 5,000 for new software or hardware, whatever it is.
That's clear, but do I have to make a financial value in the end? Or can I just free data and just pay the employees, but I don't get rich?
So one of the overall aims of the whole project is to stimulate the commercial use of open data. So if you can show that for example, that you're using open data and it feeds into a clear business model, you have a much higher chance of being selected.
So I can't run this for public good?
Well, it depends how you. It depends how you it depends on your revenue model essentially. I think there's a clear remit to stimulate the open data ecosystem in terms of businesses.
Where does the money come from that is being given to the companies that you're solving engineering?
So this is all funded by the European Commission. So there's a pool of 5.5 million euro that it's handed out to startups and SMEs. So it's all grant funding by the EU. This is made available as part of the Horizon 2020 research funding project overall budget.
Are there any constraints for startups that already received money before, up to specific limit?
That's a good question. I would say no, but take it with a grain of salt. So it's very important that you're open about your budget plan and sort of that you say how you're funded and where it comes from, that the budget plan makes sense in itself and it's coherent. And I think one restriction is Finodex. Can someone confirm that? Confirm or deny? Yes? So I think you can't have both, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, so
what I would also say is that we cooperate together and if you are selected by one of the two accelerators, you will not be selected by them.
But for example, it shouldn't matter if you have already business angels money.
No, that's fine.
That
Absolutely.
doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. How much time do you have, Walter?
I think we should switch probably shortly to the next presentation and take then the questions afterwards. Or
well, maybe we do the last two questions then.
Okay, then we do two more questions and then
because I don't want to come back. Yes. Can you say it again? Yes. So the question was, does the scope also include companies that produce open data? And the answer is yes. For example? No, not really. You don't have to part fund it yourself or something like this. No.
But you have to use them as spyware first.
No, no, no. So you're encouraged because Telefonica is our partner. Oh my God. So you're encouraged to use it because Telefonica is the partner, but you don't have to. So this is one difference between Finodex and ODINE. I think Walter's kicking me off the stage.
Yeah, we should keep track of the time. And just if anybody has more questions about ODINE, there are a couple of people in the room, like me, Ulrich. The other ones, please raise the hand so you can ask in detail the technical side or the funding side. And I think then we would proceed with the next presentation when it's ready for Finodex, where there you can have fun with Fireware.
So you can maximize the window.
So I hand over the words to Youssef, who will present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Youssef Sabah. I'm here tonight representing Finodex. I'm here tonight representing the Finodex accelerator. Basically, we do pretty much the same things than ODINE with small differences. It's not the same program within the commission. It's not the same requirements, but basically we support startups and SMEs developing their products based on open data. I will come back to this, but first I will show a very, very short video. It's 1.5 minutes or two minutes. Sound?
Future Internet Open Data Expansion. To be considered, your service or product has to implement open data sets, and your IT architecture uses one or more services. Welcome to Finodex, your opportunity to get funded with up to 170,000 euros. Finodex stands for Future Internet Open Data Expansion. To be considered, your service or product has to implement open data sets, and your IT architecture uses one or more services from Fireware. What is open data? People, machines, and society have never produced more data than now. Some data is private, but more and more data becomes open and free. So how is open data defined? That the content can be freely used, modified, and shared by anyone for any purpose. And what precisely is Fireware? It's basically a collection of services and functionality available in the cloud. In the Fireware cloud, you'll find enablers that can help you with all areas of your IT architecture. For example, security, big data handling, visualization, connecting sensors, and many more. Basically, you can find something for almost any kind of context. So, if you have an idea, startup, or an SME working on a product or service where it makes sense to implement both open data and Fireware, you might have the chance to be selected for the Finodex Accelerator program. That means both funding and support. You'll find all you need on our website. Visualization, connecting sensors, and many more.
That's the way. Thank you. So, as shown in the video, Finodex is an accelerator supporting people having an idea, startups, SME having an idea, willing to develop applications using open data and using Fireware technologies. I will briefly summarize what Fireware technologies are. Fireware technologies are coming from the Future Internet Public-Private Partnership program developed by the Commission. It's a huge program with a big budget, around 500 million euros spent by the Commission to develop those technologies. What they are, it's a kind of tools allowing you to include them into your applications and to use them as, for example, Amazon Web Services, but they are more European technologies. And the program was developed into 3 phases. The first phase was already implemented in 2011, and it was to build the foundation, so the basic tools, what we call generic enablers. The second phase was to test those generic enablers, building some use cases in different domains like media, like manufacturing, like energy. And some projects have been implemented using firewall technology to test and improve those technologies. And now the Commission has opened the third phase, which is widely promoting the usage by SMEs. And to do that, they have opened a call, and they have selected 16 accelerators, and those 16 accelerators have a budget of 80 million euros to distribute as grants to people willing to use firewall technologies to develop their applications. And Finodex is one of them. We have a budget, we have open call, and we offer funding of from 10,000 to 170,000. We will see the details of this funding a little bit later, to projects willing to use open data and use firewall technologies. What do we consider in Finodex as open data? Open data, it's data sets from any origin which are not restricted, which you can use freely. You do not have to pay for that. You can access it without any restriction. You can modify these data. You can share these data. You can use for commercial purpose. And basically, very often, it's CC common license behind it. How do you detect if a data set might not be open? Very often you have a commercial license behind it, you have a copyright, you have to pay, you have a limited right to use it for research or for limited reasons. So in these cases, you can clearly say it's not open data. And one difference with ODINE is that Finodex requires that you reuse open data, not producing open data. If you produce open data, you also need to use existing data sets. That's our requirement. There are 7 partners across Europe behind Finodex. The coordinator of the project is Zabala. It's an innovation management company based in Spain. One university, Copenhagen Business School, one open source association in Spain, one engineering company from Italy. They were involved in the FIPPP program since the beginning, since the first phase. One accelerator, Trentorize, and ourselves, Europe Unlimited. We usually connect entrepreneurs and SMEs to investors. Finodex offers a set of services like ODINE acceleration services, like support, technical and business support, connections with other programs, connection with investors, funding. And how does the program look like? The program is divided into several phases. I think it has been, the fonts are not correct on the computer, so I will explain very quickly. The first phase is now, when you submit your proposal. The deadline, the next deadline is 17 June, so we still have 1 week left to submit a proposal, and it's our second open call and last open call. After the proposal, there's an evaluation and selection of the best projects, and those who are selected enter into negotiation to sign their grant agreements and their contracts, and they start the first support phase. For the first support phase, you have 2 deliverables to submit: an improved business plan, a kind of document, business document showing what you think, how you are going to make revenues, how you receive templates anyway to fill it in, and a technical design to improve what you submitted in your proposal, because you have 2 months to understand better the technology and to improve your technical design. And after the 2 months, your deliverables are evaluated by external evaluators. All evaluations are done by external evaluators. So the deliverables are evaluated, and the best project will go to the next phase, and those who are above the threshold get the funding of the second phase. And the funding of this phase is 10,000 euros. The funding in the third phase, the development phase, which is basically to develop the product, is 40,000 euros. And the fourth phase is to fine-tune the product, incorporating new requirements to get new markets, for example. And the funding here is 50,000. And at the end of this phase, there's a contest, and the 10 projects here will compete to get 3 final prizes of 70, 35, and 25,000 euros. So in total, across all the phases, the funding is between 10,000 and 170,000. All the documents necessary to understand the open call and to have the necessary help to apply are on our website and can be downloaded. And the templates to apply are on our website, and the link to apply is also on our website. I think I will take some questions and leave the rest of my presentation to do it later after when people are eating, to those who are really interested behind. Any questions?
Can I also publish my data in Fiware?
You can publish your data in Fiware. Actually, there's CCAN has been integrated into the Fiware platform, and it allows you to publish data.
How long does this thing run across all the phases?
How long?
How long is it? 16 phases altogether.
2 months, 5 months, 2 months. So it's 9 months.
Any other question? Or you want to push the Q&A after the last 2 presentations? So we are somehow sticking in the time frame.
Are there already some applications based on Fiverr we can look at?
We have closed our first open call, and there are actually there were 49 projects which started the first, the second phase, and they have been actually evaluated, and 30 are already developing their products. That's on the Finodex side. But there are already some applications. If you go to the website fiware.org, you will find some use cases, some samples.
I think we should push the Q&A because we still have 2 presentations and it's getting towards 9 o'clock. And I'm sure just one thing, it's the 15th of June, the 17th of June, sorry,
So
for the application deadline for those who want to have fun with Fiware. And next one up is Yvonne making a presentation about apps for Europe, what they did. And I hope thank you.
Hello, I'm Yvonne Janssen. I'm from WAG Society. Can I also use this one?
Yes.
I'm from WAG Society, and I'm going to quickly be talking about App for Europe as quickly as I can. We are one of the 3 European projects hosting the event tonight. I forgot my nice banner in Amsterdam, but hey, what can you do? Apps for Europe has been a project not about open data incubation, but it's been about helping the network of open data organizations organizing open data events, startups working with open data, and investors interested in investing in open data together. So for organizers of open data events, we have been trying to help them increase the sustainability of the outcomes of such events, of hackathons and competitions. For the developers and startups participating in these events, we've been trying to enhance their business knowledge and skills through a model we call the Business Lounge. And for investors, we've been trying to show them the added value of these startups and connecting them to this world that they might not know. So we've been doing a lot of events throughout Europe with, together with our local partners who already were active in the field of open data events, were already organizing hackathons, and we've been attaching this idea of a business lounge to existing events to help increase the knowledge and skills in the business modeling sense. A bit about myself and the organization I work for. We are running the Apps for Europe project. I'm from VAC Society. Logo, go to vac.org for more. We organize Facebook Liberation Armies, Hack the Brain hackathons, biohack academies to experiment with genomics, and run a smart citizen lab. So we focus on everything having to do with technology and society and how to democratize technology for larger groups of people. Do a lot of interesting stuff. The Facebook Liberation Army event is on the 23rd of June in Amsterdam. Should you happen to be there, you're very much invited. You can purchase a ticket at the local theater Stadschouwburg. You can check it out on the website, should you happen to be there. A business lounge is really a location, a place or physical location that you would try to attach to an existing event. And it's a place where networking is a central part. You try to bring together as much people that can benefit from each other's knowledge and each other's experience as you can to increase the knowledge of the developers attending hack events about what is needed to bring their idea and their business forward, and to introduce these great ideas that emerge from a hackathon to a wider community of people that will be interested in investing in such ideas. These local business lounges that we have been organizing culminate into an international business lounge, which we have now hosted twice at the Future Everything Festival in Manchester. There we bring together the best developers and startups and businesses that we find throughout these local business lounges, and they get the opportunity to meet each other and meet an international audience of interested investors and organizations. And what we offer them is really a platform to showcase their business and the recognition that comes with that. So I wanted to quickly go through a little list of ideas that I want to share with you on should you be hosting a hack event and wanting to tap into this idea of making the outcomes more sustainable. I have some suggestions on how what type of activities could help. So first, it is important to know that just by hosting an event, creating a challenge, you are creating a means to validate the work that people have been doing in the field of open data. So it's about the importance of prizes and recognition, and it's definitely not to be underestimated. The networking, of course, is a very important part, and you can really do a lot to facilitate that. Don't leave it. You don't have to leave everything up to chance. You can really, in advance, try to find out who is coming and who would they find interesting to meet, and really try to facilitate this as much as possible. Press coverage is also something to think about because this is something that benefits really almost everybody participating in such events. Again, it goes to the recognition and the validation of the work that people are doing. Pitch training, of course, an essential part for in the business skill building part. So having people build their knowledge and skills in this area is always an important thing to focus on, but also not only the training, but actually real life pitching for real life investors. That's definitely of added value. I mean, it doesn't have to lead to actual investments. Just the fact that you get this interaction going is a huge learning curve usually for a lot of people. The importance of being focused. This is also something you can create something around in your event. Any successful business knows that it is that the importance of sticking to your original goals or to your goals, and having the focus you need to bring your product further. The importance of the right business case. In case you didn't know, I'm of course in Germany, so ViziCities is behind the Fairphone. I don't know who has one here. Anybody? No Fairphones here. The importance of the business case, starting with something as easy as business model canvassing, for those of you that know it, just getting the awareness about having a clear business model in place to move, and the importance that any investor, whether it be venture capital or just potential clients, would give to that. An overview of incubators. Investor is not just, like I said, venture capital or angel investors. There's a huge uprise of up and coming area of incubators in Europe. They are just expanding greatly right now, and giving a good overview of incubation opportunities, whether it be spaces where people can work, open spaces where people can work, to actually people that will give you some type of seed funding to help your business along and help like Finodex and ODINE. Looking, this is the second to last, helping developers and startups look beyond their own borders. And this is definitely the topic we've seen throughout Europe that it's important to pay attention to. I think this is where we as Apps for Europe really saw added value, that we can give people a broader sense of the opportunities that are beyond their own city and their own country. And any type of event you're doing that you want to focus on sustainability of the outcomes, definitely put some focus on how you can expand your business to new cities and new countries. And then the last, learning how to fail. Definitely something that is undervalued in Europe in general. We always hear about the success stories and the up and coming stories, but we hardly ever hear about the failures. Something that they talk about a lot more in America. And if you can get this type of subject into your event, I think anybody can learn from things that went wrong in somebody else's trajectory, and take that as lessons for themselves. I wanted to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we come to the final, last but not least, presentation by Laura Manley from DC. She was involved in the Open Data 500 and is now with the Open Data Enterprise Institute and is doing the Open Data Impact Map. So please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I won't be long because I know I'm standing between you, snacks and beer and networking. But I just have to say, wow, that Club Mate stuff. So I thought that was beer. So hopefully I can talk to you coherently about the Open Data Impact Map. So first off, thank you to everyone that invited me here from Open Knowledge, from the Open Data Incubator. I'm here from the Center for Open Data Enterprise. We're a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C., and we develop smarter open data strategies for businesses, governments, and different nonprofits. So as we're hearing tonight, there's lots of really exciting startups, companies, nonprofits around the world that are using open data. But how do you start to capture the best practices, the innovations, and understand them on a broad spectrum? We at the center were curious about this, and we found lots of different case studies and examples, region by region, country by country, or even sector by sector. But we wanted a centralized place to be able to start searching through all of these different examples. So we created the Open Data Impact Map. So you can go to www.opendataenterprise.org/map and go to this catalog. The Open Data Impact Map is the first searchable, centralized database and map of organizations around the world using open data. So we launched the beta version of this map a couple weeks ago at the International Open Data Conference. We currently have 700 examples from over 70 different countries. And one of the really encouraging, exciting things is that 44% of these organizations were founded in the past 5 years. So I'll actually go into the map right now. We're hoping that this really becomes a tool for entrepreneurs, for policymakers, for open data advocates, international organizations, to start seeing the broad trends of how open data is actually being used around the world. All right. Actually, I think it's already loaded here. Okay. So the map also provides new insights. So if I wanted to know what are some of the common types of data that are being combined with geospatial or weather data, or within Eastern Europe, how many open data companies were founded within the past 2 years, I would be able to download all of this data as open data in CSV and JSON file and then look at this information. We're also building this out and adding additional features. So if you have any ideas while we're still in beta, please let us know. So if I go to the map, I can look over here and see the stats based on whatever my filters are. I can download the data. I can export a picture of the map, and I can take the survey. So one of the questions we get a lot of the time is, how are you getting all of this data? So one of the most important things is you guys, the ones that are working with open data, there's a survey. You can go to it, fill it out, tell us about how you're using open data, and we'll add you to the map. We're also working with partners in 19 different countries, giving us examples of what they're seeing with open data use. So if I was to click into Europe, for instance, and go into the map a little bit more, and then I can filter by region, country, organization type, industry category, etc. If I'm to look at for-profit organizations that, for instance, are categorizing themselves as healthcare companies, I can look at right here, and I think we have Viomedo. Where are these guys? Shout out. So the other really cool companies that we're presenting tonight, fill out the survey, tell us more about what you're doing. And then if this information isn't correct, because we do our best to research and make sure all of the data is really there, you can then click on edit and then edit the actual survey so you can add more information. So if you say, for instance, wait, you didn't capture the fact that we're using German clinical trials data, then you can tell us that and we'll make sure it's replicated here. So some just basic findings from the 700 examples that we're seeing so far. We have about 200 different examples of organizations using open data, but we know there are a lot more. These organizations are coming from 27 countries across Europe in specific, and half of those in Europe are founded within the past 5 years from 24 different industry categories. So it's exciting to see that this is really a phenomenon that's happening across the economy. So like I said, we're continuously improving this. Please reach out if you have ideas, if you have organizations that you want to contribute, and hopefully this is a valuable resource for all of you to start looking at other organizations that are doing similar kind of work, for you to get ideas, or for you to just learn more about how open data can be used. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for the presentations. Thanks all to the startups, and I guess next step is having something to eat and enjoy some drinks and check out some other cool stuff. All the information is online again. The hashtag was ODINE, and follow the projects and keep on rocking on open data. Thank you.